I got a message for you tonight, and this message is called Stay in Position. And so I want you to stay in position tonight. Before we go ahead and get started, Louis Morier is introducing me right now for the people who are listening in via the conference call line. And of course, for those of you who are listening in via the live stream, you can already hear me right now. And of course, I'm excited, and I thank you so much for joining me for the Thursday night Show Up for Your Life motivational live stream. This is the place that you come each and every week, each and every Thursday, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, in order to take your lives to the next level. If you just want to stay inspired, if you just are looking for a message, something that can enlighten you and take you to the next level, this is, in fact, where you want to be. And so, like always, I just want to thank you so much for being part of Thursday night Show Up for Your Life motivational movement. Louis is actually doing the introduction right now, and we're about to go live. We're actually technically already live right now in the live stream, but we're about to go live on the conference call line. And of course, like always, I thank you all for tuning in and joining us for the Thursday night Show Up for Your Life motivational movement. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I'm on the call. Actually, let me put in the moderator line so make sure Louis can hear me here. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Louis, can you hear me loud and clear? All right. Excellent, man. Thank you so much for what you do each and every week, Louis. I was just chit-chatting with the people who are listening in right now via the live stream. And of course, I want to welcome everybody to the Thursday night Show Up for Your Life motivational live stream and conference call. And so for those of you who are joining us for the very first time, I just want to explain to you what we got going on here. This is both a conference call and a live stream that are actually taking place simultaneously at the exact same time. And so some of you right now decide to dial in via the conference call line. You may be listening to me on your way home from work. You're in the car, you're at home, you're on telephone, you're cooking, you're with your family. But you said, hey, you know what? I got to make sure that I get on someplace to be able to listen to a message tonight. And some of you actually decided to go ahead and join me via live stream. Well, let me tell you, regardless of how you choose to tune in tonight, if you're tuning in right now via the conference call line, or if you're tuning in right now via the live stream, let me just reassure you that you are absolutely in the right place. And of course, I thank you for tuning in, being part of Thursday night Show Up for Your Life motivational movement and live stream. And so this would be a perfect opportunity for those of you right now who are watching via live stream. This is a perfect opportunity for you to go ahead and share the live stream link. Go ahead and hit the share button, share this live stream link. Let your friends, let your family members know that we're about to get started on the Thursday night Show Up for Your Life motivational live stream. Now, for those of you who are listening in via the conference call line, this is also a very perfect opportunity right now for you to go ahead and send a very quick text message or go on the social media and make a quick post and let people know that we're about to get started on the Thursday night Show Up for Your Life motivational live stream. Listen, this platform, this movement, the Show Up for Your Life movement, has been taking place now for over 6 years. And this is literally the place that you can come each and every single week, every Thursday at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time in order to be inspired. I can assure you that I'm going to share a message that's going to get you to start thinking something that you can apply to your life that hopefully is going to help you to show up for your life entirely different and be able to take your life to an entirely different level. And so we are about to get started. I just want to give you one more quick opportunity. If you could think of a friend or a family member, or if you've got some people on social media that you believe will be able to benefit from this message, this will be your perfect opportunity to go ahead and hit the share button so they can join us and tune in tonight for the Thursday night Show Up for Your Life motivational message. And so here's what I want to talk to you about tonight. Tonight's message is entitled Stay in Position. Stay in Position. And here's what I believe. Here's what I believe. Many of us, unfortunately, we miss out on a blessing. We miss out on a tremendous opportunity. We miss out on something that has our name written all over it. Why? Because of the fact that we get tired of waiting. And guess what we do? We put ourselves out of position. In other words, we get out of position for the blessing. We get out of position for the opportunity. We get out of position for making the right contact. And the reason why this message came to me and what I was thinking about, I happen to live down here in South Florida. And one of the things that we have to deal with periodically in South Florida is something called hurricane season. And so there's a particular time in the year in which we are most susceptible to actually being hit by a hurricane. in this past year, we did get a hurricane scare. Thank God nothing major happened. There was nothing catastrophic that took place. Homes were okay. But whenever there is a hurricane warning down here in South Florida, you still have to get ready. And so what that means is that now you have to go ahead and head out to the grocery store. You got to load up on water. You got to make sure you got batteries, got to make sure you got a flashlight, got to make sure you got some canned food. If you do, you got to make sure you got a generator if possible. And there are so many things that we have to load up on. And it's one of those things that you can't take lightly because we just never know when we get a hurricane warning what's going to happen. And so I just thought about this past year, we got a hurricane warning. And I remember immediately thinking to myself, you know what? I got to make sure that my household is okay, where me and my wife and my beautiful daughter are. And then I also got to make sure that my mother's okay and make sure that everything's okay at her household. So one of the first things, of course, like always, we got to make sure we get out there, go purchase some batteries and get out there and go get some actual water. And so I remember jumping into my truck and literally driving to quite a few different locations. And everywhere that I went, unfortunately, they were completely out of water. So the grocery stores down here, one of the chains happened to be Publix. And so I drove to one of our supermarkets down here, got there completely out of water. I went to another supermarket chain down here called Winn-Dixie, went over there. They were completely out of water. Listen, I went to Walmart. I know it doesn't matter where you are right now. You probably have heard of Walmart. I went to Walmart and they were out of water. And so finally, I made my way over to a local sort of corner store, drugstore. And when I got there, there was this massive line of people who were just waiting to see if there was actually water there. And so they were out of water. But the manager said this. Here's what the manager said. He says, I can assure you, I just got off the phone with our distributor. I just got off the phone with the truck driver. And we have several pallets of water that is actually coming. And so naturally, I wanted to get some water for my mom's household. I wanted to get some water for me and my wife's household. And so, listen, you better believe I got in line in order to hold my position. And so here's what happened. The manager told us that we should expect the water to get there in about 15 to 20 minutes. And unfortunately, 15 to 20 minutes went by and the water still wasn't there. And so needless to say, people were starting to get a little agitated, a little restless, but it's a necessity so people continue to stay in line. Well, listen to this. About 35 minutes to 45 minutes go by, and there's still no truck pulling up, and there's still no water. And let me tell you this, people are really getting agitated. People are starting to complain. They're telling the manager, hey, what's going on? You told us there's going to be water. And I'm telling you, you'll be surprised how people begin to act up in the middle of a natural disaster or if they really, 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 truly need something. And now I'm starting to look at my watch, and I've been standing in line now for a good 55 minutes, and every part of me wants to get out of line, but I realize that I just cannot go home and not show up with any water. And so I'm realizing I've already driven to so many locations and didn't have any water. I say, you know what? I'm just going to sit tight and hold my position. Well, guess what? An hour goes by, and now as soon as we hit an hour mark, you just look, and literally I was probably the 20th person in line. And at that 1 hour mark, I'm telling you, at least 15 people who were ahead of me got out of line. They got frustrated. They were upset. They were angry. They couldn't believe they waited all that time. And so all of them got out of line. In other words, they gave up their position. And what do you think happened? I promise you that literally about 5 to 6 minutes after all 15 of those people got out of position, they got out of the line. What do you think happened? A big old 18-wheel truck pulls up right there in the front of the store, and we already got an opportunity to go ahead and pay for it. And all we did was walk out of the store, show our receipt, pick up our pallets of water, load them in our vehicles, and get out of there. And I couldn't help but think about all these people who had literally been standing in line for literally an hour, and all they needed to do was continue to hold their position. All they had to do was stay in position for just 5 more minutes, and it was all going to pay off. If they would have stayed in position for just 5 more minutes, they would have got exactly what they showed up for. And here's what I come to realize. Many of us are literally in a position where we are possibly about to get our blessing. Many of us are in a position where we're about to experience a tremendous opportunity. many of us are in position where something amazing is about to happen for us. But what happens is we begin to get a little bit tired of waiting. We begin to get frustrated. And so what we're realizing is sometimes we start looking around and we're like, you know what? I'm not getting the results that I want. That, you know what? I'm not picking up enough clients like I thought I would. That I'm not generating as much income as I thought I was going to be generating at this time. I don't have the right amount of contacts that I thought that I would have at this time. And so as you look at the circumstances and as you look at your situation, you begin to judge it and you begin to become emotionally invested in it. And next thing you know, you start talking yourself out of holding your position. And so now you stop making the phone calls. Now you stop showing up to the networking events. Now you stop paying for the coaching and the mentoring. Now you stop working on your dream and your goal. Now you stop developing your skill set to make the thing happen because you decide that, you know what, I'm tired, I'm frustrated, I'm not getting the results that I want. And so I'm sick and tired of being waiting here. And so I'm going to give up my position. And I'm telling you right now that most of the time, we get out of position right before the blessing's about to come, right before we're about to experience the breakthrough, and right before something tremendous is about to happen in our life. And so I just want to encourage you right now, this moment, if you've got something that you've been working on, that you've been trying to make happen, and unfortunately it's not happening at the pace that you thought it was going to happen, and there's a part of you that wants to throw in the towel. There's a part of you that's getting frustrated, like many of those people who are standing in line with me. I just want to remind you, you just need to continue to hold your position. Listen to me on this. Eventually, your opportunity is going to come. Eventually, the breakthrough is going to come your way, but you will miss out on your blessing. You will miss out on your opportunity if you get out of position. Listen, so much of success and so much of the things that is going to lead you towards your destiny, that's going to get you to your goal, is about you being at the right place at the right time. It's about you holding on to the position that you have. It's about you putting yourself in position so that you can actually succeed and that you actually win in life. And so here's what I'm a firm believer of. Most of the time, the people that they win in life is not necessarily the people who are most talented. It's not necessarily the people that have the most amount of resources. It's not necessarily the people that have the most amount of connections. It's not necessarily the people who are the most intelligent. But often the ones who win in life are the ones who put themselves in position to win. And so much of success is about positioning yourself and putting yourself in a position to actually win, to actually accomplish the thing that you want. I'll never forget this. It was quite some years ago. I was really, really gung-ho and set on the opportunity to be able to speak at a conference. And so I spoke to the person who was responsible for putting on the conference, and I told them, hey, listen, I would love to be a speaker at the conference. And they said, Andy, listen, at this point, the only way that you could potentially be a speaker at this conference is if we talked about you being a speaker for next year. Because at this stage, at this particular stage, we already have all of our speakers locked down. We already have our schedule locked down. And unfortunately, we just don't have room on the agenda for you. And so hearing that was a little frustrating for me because I really wanted the opportunity to be able to speak at this conference. It was called a health and wealth annex. And so, but yet, even though he told me that, I just knew that there was probably still a possibility, just a slight possibility that this could happen for me. And so instead of getting frustrated and just deciding that, you know what, well, since I can't speak, I'm not going to go to the conference, I said, you know what, here's what I'm going to do anyway. I'm still going to show up every single day to the conference. But instead of showing up as an attendee, because we were told to dress, business casual, I said to myself that, you know what, I'm just going to put myself in position just in case the opportunity presents itself. And so I'll never forget, it was day 2 of the conference. And here I was dressed up, business casual, ready to go. And I said, wait a second, Andy, you never know, the opportunity may present itself. So I remember going back into my bedroom, going back into the closet, going ahead and decide to change my clothes, to put on a full-blown suit, knowing that as an attendee, being in a complete suit, I was probably going to be overdressed. But I knew if the opportunity for me to speak were to come up, that I needed to be in a suit. So I said, you know what, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a suit on. I may not put a tie on, but I'm going to go ahead and put a suit on. Then the other thing is, I said, well, wait a second, Andy, if you get the opportunity to speak, you're going to also need some product for you to actually be able to sell, right? Because during that event, everyone who spoke was actually offering their products and their services. So I literally went and grabbed a couple of boxes of my products and I put them in my car and I drove to the event. And so here I am, I drive to the event and I'm going there throughout the day. And then during lunchtime, I see that the guy who's actually over the event seems a little flustered. He seems a little stressed. And so I remember walking up to him and saying, hey, what was wrong? He said, no, listen, man, we have one of our speakers was due to come in. Something happened with their flight and it doesn't look like they're going to be able to come in. And so, I'm a little frustrated right now. And so I looked at him. And so, of course, you know what I'm thinking, right? I'm like, wait a second. This is my opportunity, right? I'm in position right now to take advantage of this because, number one, I've got my attire. I'm ready to go. I already know what I'm going to talk about. I already know they've been giving the speakers 45-minute slots. I already know what I would speak about in that 45 minutes. And on top of that, I have my products. And so I told him, I said, well, listen, how about why don't you go ahead and allow me to go ahead and fill in that spot for that speaker? Where he said, well, listen, I'm going to need for you to offer something to the audience. This speaker is going to come in. I said, well, I've got something. I've got my program in the car. I've got my program. It's called Speak Easy. It's a communications program. It helps people to be able to become better communicators so that they can be more effective as entrepreneurs in business. And I'm going to do a whole talk about the importance of your communication and being able to take your communication skills to an entirely different level and how your business and your life is a direct reflection of your communication skills. And he says, you tell me you're ready to go. I said, listen, man, I'm ready. All I needed 5 minutes to go to the car, go grab my products and so forth. He said, listen, the second lunch ends, I'm going to go ahead and announce you and you're going to get this opportunity to speak. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, I can't believe this. Here I am, literally had spoken to this guy. He told me there was no way that I was going to be able to speak at this conference. And now here I am, I'm backstage and I'm getting myself mentally prepared to come out on this stage and speak at this conference. Why? Because I was willing to stay in position. In spite of what he told me, in spite of what the possibilities appeared to be, I stayed in position. And because I stayed in position, guess what? I was able to take advantage of the opportunity. And so what I need you to understand is this, is that right now there's a blessing with your name written on it. Right now there's an opportunity with your name written on it. There's somebody who's ready to do business with you. There is somebody who's ready to hire you. There's somebody who's ready to partner up with you. There is somebody who can open up a door that is going to be able to accelerate exactly what it is that you're doing right now in your business, in your career. There is somebody that you can connect with that you're going to be able to collaborate with to extremely accelerate and increase what you have to do. But the only way that that's going to happen is you cannot get tired by waiting. You cannot get tired of waiting. In other words, you've got to stay in position. And let me tell you, it's not an easy thing to do because sometimes you're going to get frustrated. Sometimes you're going to want to throw in the towel. Sometimes you're going to say to yourself, why bother? Why should I even bother continuing to push through? Why should I even bother making the phone calls? Why should I bother continue to put in these applications? Why should I bother continue to get this business off the ground? Why should I bother showing up and continue to make things happen because I'm not getting the results that I want? And what I'm saying to you is that if you stay in position, if you don't allow yourself to get fatigued from just waiting, trust and believe that your time will come. The opportunity is going to come your way. But let me tell you something. It takes discipline. I'm talking about serious discipline to stay in position. Let me tell you, a couple of years back, this was crazy. I don't know if you guys remember back in grade school, for any of you who ever played the game kickball. And so you remember that game kickball. Some of you may remember, may not remember. But kickball is sort of like baseball, but you use your leg and there's a ball that gets rolled to you to kick out, right? And so one of my favorite sports back in elementary school was to actually play kickball. And so needless to say, a couple of years ago, as an adult, I was offered the opportunity, both myself and my wife. She wasn't my wife at the time, we were dating, but we were offered an opportunity to be part of an adult kickball team. And so you have no idea how excited I was and how seriously I took it being on this kickball team. We were having games on Saturdays. It was an awesome opportunity for adults to get out there, feel like kids again, and have a great time. And you better believe that there's some serious competition out there. And so when it came to the time when we were basically out and we were playing defense, one of the places that I would be out there playing is I would be playing out in the outfield. And so in other words, I was out there in the event that somebody really kicked the ball high in the air so that I'd have the opportunity to catch the ball and actually put them out. And so there's a couple of people who are playing out in the outfield. And let me tell you something that I observed in the game of kickball. What happened is over time, there's always going to be one particular area in the field that seems to get a little more action than the rest of the areas in the field. So somebody might be on the far right-hand side of the field, and there's about 3 people who come to kick the ball, and all 3 of those individuals kick it to the right-hand side of the field. Well, listen what normally happens. The person who's covering the left side of the field, because of the fact that they're not seeing any action, because of the fact that they get tired of waiting, because of the fact that nobody's kicking the ball in their direction, they begin to get lazy. They get tired of waiting. And because of the fact that they get tired of waiting, over time, they get out of position. And so where they should stay further back in the outfield, they continue to move closer and closer and closer and closer. And the reason why they're doing that is because they're tired of waiting for someone to kick the ball to them, and they're feeling frustrated. And so they're saying, well, wait a second, I'm not getting any action. Nobody's kicking the ball my way. And so forget about this. And they get frustrated and they begin to get closer and closer. And in getting closer, guess what they also do? They get out of position. And what always happens like clockwork, they get out of position. And the moment they get out of position, what do you think happens? Somebody goes up to the kicking mount, and the ball gets rolled to them, and then they kick the ball and they boot it in their direction. And because of the fact that they're out of position, the ball goes over their head and they miss out on the opportunity to make the play. And so here's what I've come to realize, that there are so many of us who end up missing out on our opportunity to make a major move, a major play in our own personal lives, because we get tired of waiting, we get frustrated, we begin to lose out on the discipline because it takes discipline to stay in position, and we begin to drift and we get out of position. And so what happens is when you get out of position, guess what? The opportunity goes over your head. The contact goes over your head. The job goes over your head. The client goes over your head. And guess what happens? You completely miss out on the opportunity. Now, let me tell you something that's even worse, and something that happens in sports and something that even happens in life. You see, also in sports, when they're playing the game of football, the quarterback has the ball, and a lot of times the quarterback already knows where the wide receiver is supposed to go in the position that the wide receiver is supposed to be in to catch the ball. And so sometimes what will happen is the quarterback will get the ball, call the play, the wide receiver will run out and run the route, but the wide receiver does not get in the right position. And so what happens is the quarterback throws the ball, the wide receiver is not in position, but guess what happens? Somebody on the other team gets in position and they intercept the ball. And so here's what I want you to realize, that sometimes your blessing that's going to come your way, your opportunity is going to come your way, you miss out on it, and somebody else is able to catch your opportunity. Somebody else catches your blessing. Somebody else makes the play that you were supposed to make simply because you didn't have the discipline to stay in position. And so I'm telling you right now, this is something that happens to the very best of us. And I can tell you right now, I know what it's like sometimes to get frustrated. I know what it's like to wait for your time, to wait for your turn. I know that sometimes you're working on a goal, you're working on a dream, and you're just thinking that things are going to happen a little faster than they do. And unfortunately, they don't happen at the speed that you thought that they were going to happen at. And because of that, you just want to throw in the towel. Because of that, you just begin to get really, really frustrated. And when you get frustrated, guess what happens? You begin to cut corners. When you get frustrated, you stop doing the things that were necessary to get you to where you were in the first place. And so what happens is over time, you begin to drift. And when you drift, and when you get frustrated, and when you're no longer being patient about waiting, guess what happens? You put yourself out of position. And when you put yourself out of position, you miss out on the blessing. You miss out on the opportunity, even when it's got your name written all over it. And so here's what I want to challenge you to do right now. I want to challenge you to stay disciplined. I want to challenge you to remain focused. I want to challenge you to claim what's yours and to continue to stay in position. Because oftentimes, when you decide to throw in the towel, like that lady I told you about that was standing in line, when you decide to leave your position, when you decide that you're sick and tired of being waiting, oftentimes that is when you are closest to your breakthrough. That is when you are closest to your blessing. That is when you are closest to something extraordinary happening for you. And so my message for you today is for you to stay in position. And so I know you're frustrated. I know that you just want to give up. I know that you're saying to yourself, why should I even bother? I know that you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. I get that. But what I'm trying to tell you is that if you could just stay in position, something special is about to happen. If you could stay in position, you're going to meet the right person. If you could stay in position, you're finally going to get that job phone call and you're going to get the opportunity. If you could stay in position, the business will take off. If you could stay in position, you're finally going to accomplish that thing that you want. But you have to stay in position. And so I hope that the next time that little voice pops up in your head and you start thinking about throwing in the towel and you start thinking about closing up shop, that you're going to remember this message. You're going to remember what I told you, and that you'll recall that, listen, stay in position. You're so much closer than what you think. All right. Well, listen, this has been Andy Henriquez. And like always, here's what I tell you. You got to show up for your lives, ladies and gentlemen. Show up for your life, because if you don't show up for your life, if you're not willing to hold your position, if you're not willing to stay in position, then guess what? Nobody else will. All right. Well, listen, I'm telling you, I am so happy that you decided to join me for the Thursday night Show Up for Your Life Motivational Movement and live stream. Let me just share a couple things with you. If you haven't already done so, super, super important, I want you to get a copy of my book. The title of my book is Show Up for Your Life, 7 Principles to Living an Extraordinary Life. That book was inspired through my mom's story. My mom actually came here to the United States with less than $150 to her name. She came here from Haiti, the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. And my mom always wanted to pursue the American dream. And there was a defining moment in my mom's life where she really stood a chance to really change the trajectory of her life. And what ultimately made the difference was that my mom was willing to show up at a very crucial moment. And showing up completely changed her life. She was able to realize the American dream and do some extraordinary things here in this country. And so what I know is this, is that so much of what it is that you're going after and you're looking to pursue in life is going to be dependent upon not your gifts, not just your skills, not your talents, but it's going to be dependent upon you showing up. It's going to be dependent upon you getting in position. And so if you've been looking to get your life from a place of just being ordinary to being extraordinary, I want you to get a copy of this book, because I know that this book is going to inspire you. It's going to touch you. It's going to move you to begin to show up in your life entirely different. So go to Amazon.com, go to BarnesandNobles.com, or go to ShowUpForYourLifeBook.com and get a copy of the book. It doesn't matter to me where you choose to go get the copy of the book. The most important thing is that you get the book and that you read it, because I know it's going to transform your life. And I can't wait to hear from you after you've read the book and hear what kind of impact that the book has had in your life. The other thing is that I want to share with you, as many of you know, I am a storytelling business coach. I help entrepreneurs, speakers, coaches, and individuals to really be able to harness and hone down on what their signature story is and show them how they could leverage their story so that they can build up their platform and be able to have more influence and do what they're doing right now, but more effectively, so that they can sell more of their products and their services, so that they can better enroll people, so that they can build better connections and rapport with people and be able to connect with them so that they can increase the probability that they can actually be able to perhaps sell those people later, or maybe even be able to influence those people to be able to change their lives. And so one of the things that one of the ways that I train people is through one of my group coaching programs. It's a very powerful 2-day training that is called the Master Storyteller Academy. My next Master Storyteller Academy is coming up very soon. And I would love for those of you who know you have a message, you want to take your message to the next level, you have a product or service, you have a company, and you realize that one of the best ways that you can be able to bring in more paying customers and clients is if you can strengthen your message. And if you can go from having a one-to-one conversation to have a one-to-many conversation, but you realize that you need a little help with getting your message good and making it strong and succinct and giving people something that they can connect to and relate to. And so I would love to invite you to apply for my next Master Storyteller Academy. And so once again, you can just simply go to masterstorytelleracademy.com. Once again, that is masterstorytelleracademy.com. You'll see a very quick application that you can fill out to be able to join me for the next Master Storyteller Academy. Listen, I'm looking forward. For those of you who are going to be joining me, we're going to have a phenomenal event down in South Florida, in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, which is the place of the next Master Storyteller Academy. Like always, listen, we're going to open up the lines just momentarily. For those of you who are on Facebook, I just want to remind you that you can go ahead and join. You can join my private Facebook group. Just simply go into Facebook and type in showupforyourlife.com, showupforyourlife.com. When you type in Show Up For Your Life, you'll find a group in Facebook and send us a friend request. We'd love to go ahead and have you join the group. If you want a shortcut to get there, you can open up a web browser and type in showupgroup.com, showupgroup.com, and that'll get you there quickly so that you can go ahead and send a request to join the group. I want to give a quick shout out to a couple new people who just joined the group. So Tammy Gilbert, Craig Morrow, Allison Jackson, Lakeisha Murray, just want to give you all shout outs who are recent people to become a part of the group. And for those of you who will be joining the group, we'll give you a shout out as well. And like always, we do have people who are tuning in right now via the conference call line. So I'm going to go ahead and put my phone on speakerphone for those of you who are listening in via the live stream. And Lewis, our host.
All participants are muted, and they can unmute themselves.
Excellent. So Lewis, the host, just opened up the line for those of you on the conference call line. I'd love to hear your comments, question, or feedback from tonight's message. Stay in position. Just go ahead and press *6 to unmute your line. *6 to unmute your line. If you would, just say your name, maybe where you're calling from, and let me know what kind of value you got from tonight's message.